Hello, beloved gamer, and welcome back to Live Fires. Today we're going to go from the bottom sandbags to the top sandbags area. This is a challenging jump, so I'm going to shut up while I go for it. The hard part being, of course, the timing, the jump, to get that perfect ramp so that you can make it on top of the sandbag. As a bit of trivia, I've spent more time on this jump for a tutorial than any other jump so far because of how challenging and inconsistent it has been. And while there certainly is a degree of inconsistency with it, I think you're going to really appreciate this method in particular because you can get a feel for when you're doing something right and you're doing something wrong, which is very satisfying. Another thing that you can note is that we're not spamming our jump, and because of that, we can actually make it on top of the sandbag if we do it perfectly. We're getting a relatively good streak going on here. I think I'm also giving a realistic representation that it is hard and you will miss it, but you can get it to a degree of consistency where you feel comfortable enough with it. All right, cool. Let's do a tutorial. So, let's start with each individual section. First, we're going to get onto this little panel here. Then I'm going to discuss the hardest part of the trick, which is the timing. Then we're going to talk about the ramp on the door frame. And then, of course, getting on top of the sandbag itself. So starting off this part, to get on this panel, it can be kind of annoying if you don't know how to do it. Get right next to it, crouch, jump, uncrouch, and slightly hold your analog stick towards the panel. So jump and crouch, hold your analog stick. It's so slight you can barely see movements on my control stick right now. The next part is getting an angle. I like to keep this angle right here, not too far in towards the panel or too far out towards the grass, but kind of parallel to it right here so that I can do an up-left angle that's about the same each time. The angle is important. It's not as important as the timing. The timing of the jump is by far the most important part of this trick. So, now's the hard part. You want to jam up left and then a split second after press the jump button. Jam up left and a split second after press the jump button. Also, depending on what settings you have for your move thumbstick dead zone, which is right here, it may change the timing of your jump. So keep this in mind depending on what your settings are, that it may be slightly different from mine. All right, so jam and then, did you see that? I jammed, then jumped, and I got the ramp that I was looking for. You know you got it right when you're on that door and you see your Spartan move up, kind of like almost as if he's going over a small hill. He's kind of ramping up on like a small hill or something, is what it feels like. That means you've got the hardest part of this trick successfully. So, that ramp is very interesting. That little ramp up that he does is very interesting because you would imagine that you have to spam jump like this, like spam jump to get that trick. But in reality, once you get the ramp, you get like a half second to jump. You get so long to jump, in fact, that you can wait a little bit as your Spartan moves vertically up a little bit and then jump to get even more height and completely get on top of the sandbag without clambering at all. This does take a little bit of timing practice. You have to have practiced it enough to where it's in your muscle memory when you should jump. But once you get that muscle memory down, you can get on top of the sandbag. If you don't feel comfortable with the ramp jump though, you can continue to spam jump, and then you'll just clamber onto the sandbag because you won't have enough height. But that's good enough. That'll get you there. So, let me demonstrate it again. And towards the end, you're going to crouch, hold crouch after you jump off of this little ramp on the door here to clear the sandbag completely. Or if you don't get enough height, you can just clamber. So there's a fail-safe to the trick. Let's try to demonstrate it one more time. Pay close attention to the ramp this time. I did not make it there. That's what it looks like when you fail it. It's a hard jump. That was also a failure. I think I went too high that time. There was the ramp. Got right on top of the sandbag. So, there we go again. So, let me show you some other ways you can do it if you don't like that. I've tested out a lot of different methods for this trick. So one thing you can do is, if you feel comfortable enough, you can actually pause and then hold your angle up and to the left, as you can see now. And then when you unpause, you'll have to time your jump, which is still pretty hard. But if you do it right, you can get the trick. I'm going to try to demonstrate it for you. There we go. I prefer the other way because I feel like timing the pause is too challenging, but it is cool to know that you can do that for future tricks. Another thing you can do, of course, is kind of the traditional method. As you can see there, I kind of like held, I timed my, so what I do here is I crouch and then I move towards the right, and then I'll watch my right leg. When my right leg kind of goes over this point right here, then I start to see my Spartan falling, then I know to jump and try to make the trick. I'm not a huge fan of this method because it offers just that a little bit more uncertainty to where I feel really uncomfortable with knowing what I did wrong. For you tactical players, if you really want to safely attempt the jump, you can attempt it like this, where you have you're looking towards all the areas where people could shoot at you, except for, of course, to your right, and even a little bit in the tunnel, depending on where you look over here. What I would recommend is having this door frame in view. That way your brain can kind of get used to looking at something when you time your jump. But if you do it right, you can get the ramp and feel relatively safe going for it, because at any time you can abort mission and start shooting people. Another advantage of doing it, so this is the traditional method. There is a slight advantage to doing it more parallel to the door frame though. If you miss it, I did not miss it there, I actually did get the ramp, which is cool. Well, let's say that you did miss it. All you have to do is run back and jump back onto the panel, and then you can immediately keep trying it until you get the jump. And it looks like the Halo gods are being nice to me, because apparently I'm getting it pretty consistently right now. Alright, there we go. A nice humble failure. Those are the ways that I recommend really attempting this jump. Of course, the traditional method you can also attempt to is kind of look towards this little line right here, run forward, time you're holding crouch, run forward and uncrouch, or jump and then uncrouch, and then try to get the ramp as usual. and then get all the way to the top of the sandbag. Very similar to the way that we did it over here. This is the method that I have come down and have really appreciated the most. You don't have to crouch at all. The timing is challenging, but it's something that you can mentally keep track of so that you know if you did your timing wrong or not. And overall, this is the method that I'm going to recommend, but feel free to use any particular method that you feel comfortable with. Because I love you guys, I want to show you something weird. If you jump on here and look down, you can kind of like make the leaves move without doing anything. Look at that. I'm not even on the ground. The leaves are moving for me. I am amazing. All right, anyway. So this is a tough one. Keep at it. Just pick the method that feels most comfortable for you. And let me know if you have any questions. And I will see you guys for the next video.